Hi, everybody. This is Lee. And apparently, Women's History Month is coming to a close. And I guess it's going to be Men's History Month. No, I'm just kidding. Every month is Women's History Month. But anyway, I actually reflected on the 6 women that I spoke about and celebrated for Black History Month, which was in February. And I said, you know what? I'll do it again in an abbreviated form for Women's History Month. That Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Ida B. Wells, Fannie Lou Hamer, Shirley Chisholm, and Barbara Jordan, for many and various different reasons, were who I looked up to in the world of public affairs and public policy. That while Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman never held public office, never even cast a vote, and actually did not have equal rights in society at that time, that they still managed to rock a nation from the places they occupied. That Sojourner Truth was a person who freed herself from slavery and recovered her daughter and her son from slavery, went to court, and did many other unheard of things at that time. That she was a speaker and a seeker and a seer, and that she changed her name to Sojourner Truth, and that she participated not only in efforts at racial justice and abolition, speaking to the Michigan legislature against the death penalty and things like that. That she also worked on women's suffrage issues. That she also attempted to get payments, reparation type payments from the U.S. government for people who had been held enslaved. And so that was Sojourner Truth, working triple duty all around for justice. Then, Harriet Tubman, similar story or similar background, born into slavery in the state of Maryland, but she did not let that contain her. That she freed herself from slavery and then went back on 13 missions and freed even more people who had been held in slavery, friends and family that she led to freedom. And that she recovered so many people's lives that had been dehumanized, that had been stripped from them, that she led them to a place where they could live freer, if not entirely free, going into Canada because of the fugitive slave law. And that she also was a participant in the Civil War. She was a recruiter. That she helped to find men to fight for the Union Army. And previous to that, she found men to assist John Brown with his attack on Harper's Ferry. And so she was a leader where she led, people followed. If she led them to safety, they followed. If she led them to John Brown, they followed. If she led them into the recruiting into the Union Army, they followed. And that she was a scout. That she actually led an armed battle at Combahee River, where they recovered 750 slaves due to her guiding ships around Confederate mines. And that she also worked on women's issues as well. That she participated with the suffragists, and that she knew them, and she was pro women's rights, and she was part of that struggle as well. And so she did not contain herself inside one box. And that she also similarly worked on getting reparations for slaves, the land grants, the 40 acres and a mule. She tried for 7 years and was unsuccessful in doing that. But she made the effort at economic recovery for people who had centuries of labor stolen from them, wealth stolen from them, and then told to start at zero. And so that was what Harriet Tubman did. We move forward to, let's see, Ida B. Wells. Fantastic. She was an investigative journalist who specifically focused on the horrific torture and lynching of African men, women, and children in the South, and that due to her investigations and her write-ups, that she shared the research that she did and found ways to document her discovery that these lynchings weren't a part of a criminal justice or retribution or any kind of justice for a crime that had actually been done, that in most cases it was a form of terrorism to combat the rising effort to build wealth by former slaves or African Americans in the South, that people who had been ordered to start at zero had begun to build wealth, have stores, have businesses, have services to build their own towns, that there was an effort to suppress that, to destroy that wealth had been built. And one of the favorite means to do that was to make an accusation, often a false accusation, and then use that false accusation to murder, kill, destroy, steal, and destroy all the wealth that had been built, and to terrorize people into not building wealth. And so that was what Ida B. Wells discovered. And so she was very systematic with her research and very brave with her wanting to bring truth to power, that she had to actually relocate from Mississippi to Tennessee, and then from Tennessee to Chicago because she had been targeted for the research. But she contributed much to the effort at racial and economic justice. And then she also was a participant in women's movements as well. Then we come to Fannie Lou Hamer, who was an activist, voting rights activist, civil rights activist, who, unlike Ida B. Wells, decided to stay in the South and remain in Mississippi. And so it was Fannie Lou Hamer who experienced the personal harm that Ida B. Wells escaped when she moved to Tennessee and then to Chicago. Fannie Lou Hamer faced that, but it didn't stop her. That she was subjected to a Mississippi appendectomy where a doctor took her uterus without her permission. That she had been trying to register people to vote and to vote herself, and she was beaten with a blackjack. She had been arrested and then beaten by police officers with a blackjack, to the point that she became disabled because they never provided her with medical assistance. But she did not let that stop her. She also formed the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, and then participated in the Democratic National Convention where she was denied a seat, and then she came back in '72, and then she got a seat, and her delegates were able to vote. And so she was very persistent, even in the face of so-called progressive men who you would think would be for justice, racial justice, were trying to shut her down and to shut her up and to tell her to shh, because what she said about her life in Mississippi was inconvenient to their political careers. And so Fannie Lou Hamer was very persistent. She worked on many agricultural kind of cooperatives that she started in terms of working for better prices for farmers and to uplift the economic wherewithal of her community. And she also formed women's groups as well. And so that was the triple duty that we see, the pattern that we see of triple duty, economic, women's, racial issues that these women have performed. And then we come to Shirley Chisholm, who had a fantastic career, that while Fannie Lou Hamer was on the cusp of obtaining voting rights, and that Fannie Lou Hamer had run for the House, she did not get it. She ran twice for Mississippi. But around that same time, Shirley Chisholm in New York was able to get a House seat. Prior to that, she was elected to the New York State Assembly. And so Shirley Chisholm was the first Black woman elected into the United States House. And she did not rest on her laurels. She was very active on many committees, Agricultural Committee, Education and Labor Committee, many things. I think Veteran Affairs Committee as well. And so she was a very busy woman. She created programs like Women's Infants and Children, the WIC program. She wanted to make sure to use her connections with the agricultural industry to combat hunger and poverty of women with who were pregnant or were breastfeeding or had young children, so no one go hungry. She was able to maintain a stance of progressivism. She had positions against expansion of war, escalation of war, weapons development. She wanted that money spent domestically on healthcare, education, and those sorts of programs. And she also ran for president as well in '72, calling her using the campaign slogan "Unbought and Unbossed." And so she was able to accumulate 152 delegates, being the first woman to run for a major party ticket, the Democratic Party, and that she was also the first African American to run for a major party ticket, the Democratic Party. This is previous to Jesse Jackson and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. It was Shirley Chisholm who was the first. And so she won her 152 delegates not during the primaries, but at the convention. And so it's still fantastic. Her career, she later became an educator at Mount Holyoke College, a women's college. And so she was definitely dedicated to women's rights as well because she claimed that she experienced so much discrimination in the political arena, more so because she was a woman than because she was an African American. And that was noteworthy. And so she never failed to champion women, hiring an all female staff for her office, half of whom were black. And so that was Shirley Chisholm. Much more than that, but I'm going to keep it short and move on to Barbara Jordan, who was the first African American woman elected to the House from the South, and that she was elected from Houston, the Houston district, which Sheila Jackson Lee holds now. And so Barbara Jordan joined Shirley Chisholm in the House, and previous to that, she was part of the Texas, I believe it was the Senate. She was elected to the Texas Senate, and she served there. And so Barbara Jordan was very well known for her oratory skill, her speaking, her defense of the Constitution during the Nixon hearings, and the fact that she went through the articles and everything, calling for adherence to morality and ethics in politics. And that after those hearings that she had been floated as a vice presidential candidate for Jimmy Carter. That didn't happen, but she continued to do many great things. And that she also served in the Clinton administration, that she was the chair of the Commission on Immigration Reform. And again, sticking to policy, adhering to what was best for the nation. And then she went on to teach at the University of Texas, the LBJ school. And so we see these fantastic women in the world of public affairs and public policy, some more informally or outside the system, and then those who were inside the system, and doing many fantastic things to advance the case for social justice, racial justice, economic justice, and gender justice. That they worked on many angles. They covered many, dotted many T's, dotted many I's, accomplished much in their lives. That they lived at the edge of their skill sets, the very topmost part of their skill set. They took it to the limit. And so that's why I celebrate them not only for Black History Month, but also for Women's History Month. That there are 6 fantastic women that I'll leave links in the description and that you can get to know them better. Good luck.